Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck idea brought to you by Double Sleeved. Today we're covering a leader that a lot of people are either looking forward to playing or dreading playing against. There's no doubt that we'll be seeing this at a local level, and it'll be interesting to see whether we see this in a top cut at a competitive event. It's none other than the blue Nami. A bit infamous at this point, obviously already receiving one of its cards being on the ban list, but we'll see whether that really changes the deck, whether that brings it down to a more manageable scale, or if this leader still needs some touching up to make it a bit more fair. We've got a standard 5 life, 5k leader, and one thing that we haven't seen in the card game yet is, as an additional rule, when your deck reaches 0 cards, you win the match instead of losing it. So the aim of the game here is to deck yourself out. We don't really care about our opponent and what they do. We just want to defend and get our deck to 0, and we win the game. We've got a Don ×1. When your opponent takes damage to their life through the attack of this leader, you may trash 1 card from the top of your deck. Not too bad. You don't really want to be giving your opponent more resources, so you're not really going to be attacking with this leader all that much. It's definitely a very passive kind of deck, and you're pretty much just going to be playing solitaire and trying to mill yourself out, unless you're attacking with some of your cards that can mill 7 if they deal damage. That's a bit more value than just milling the top card of your deck with the leader effect. Moving into the character cards, we've got Kaya. It's a 1 cost, 0 power, 2k counter. On play, we draw 2 and then trash 2 cards from our hand. So pretty good at just being able to accelerate that mill. Then we've got Nojiko, 2 cost, again 0k and 1k counter. On play, if your leader is Nami, return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less to the owner's hand. Really good at being able to remove some of our opponent's threats. Obviously, they're just going to be able to play their cards out onto the field and try and deal as much pressure and go as wide as possible. So this can help us to keep their board clear. And then we've got Mr. 1, a 1 cost, 1000 power, 1k counter. On play, add up to 1 blue event card with a cost of 1 from your trash to your hand. Moving into the next 3 cards, all of these cards have a similar effect. It is a Don ×1. When this character deals damage to your opponent's life, you may trash 7 cards from the top of your deck. So this is going to really accelerate our ability to mill ourselves out, and these 3 cards are the ones that we want to be dealing damage with, not so much our leader or any of our other cards. But Usopp, it has Rush inherently, which is going to be really good to be able to attack our opponent early on. And with that Don ×1, we can try and push that early damage to get that mill 7. Bellamy, a 4 cost, 5k again. This one's got 1k counter. And same Don 1 effect, but this one, on KO, you may trash 3 cards from the top of your deck. So you get a little bit of value once this card gets KO'd as well. But aim of the game here is to deal that damage. And then we've got Zeph. This is a 5 cost, 6k with the 1k counter. Same Don 1 effect, but on play, return up to 1 character with a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand, and then you may trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. So it works really well with the Kaya as well, just being able to play it, draw 2, trash 2, and then bounce it back to hand to get the 2k. Or we can simply play it again, and suddenly you're getting a fair bit of mill from those 2 cards. But yeah, again, we just want to be dealing damage with some of these, or a combination of these 3 cards. Once it has the Don on there, it's a lot of cards gone from your deck, and our opponent needs to be a bit more mindful, I guess, of the amount of cards that you have left. Next, we have 7 cost, 7k Crocodile, 1k counter, which is really good on an SR. It's got Banish, so when this card deals damage, the life card goes to the drop instead of going to the opponent's hand, which is going to be really good instead of giving them more resources. So they're comboing their cards out to defend these mill 7 kind of attacks. It's going to be difficult for them to deal with the Banish. But on the plus side as well, we've got a Don ×1. Blue event cards in your hand cost 1 less to play, which is going to be very valuable because we've got a lot of great blue defensive cards at the moment. So if we can reduce them to 0 cost or 1 cost, we can get a lot of value and a lot of defense to protect ourselves and protect our cards. Moving into the event cards, we have a fair amount of them. We've got Gum Gum Rain. This is a 0 cost counter. You may trash one card from your hand, your leader, or up to one of your characters gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. A really great number to be able to get over an attack that will likely be an attack that's 2 cost higher than the defending card. So yeah, it doesn't cost any done, and we can generally get out of that attack. Trigger, return up to one of your character cards with a cost of 2 to the owner. With it, return up to one character, doesn't have to be yours, with a cost of 2 or less to the owner's hand. We can bounce the Kaya back again if we need to and get that 2k counter again. Impel Down All-Stars. We can't use the main on this card since we don't have a Impel Down leader, but we do run it for the trigger. So if we do happen to hit this off life, we simply draw 2 cards, which is really good. And we've got a lot of cards that require one card to be trashed from hand. So if we've got this card in hand, it's just an easy target to trash. Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom. This is a 1 cost event card counter. Up to one of your leader or characters gain plus 2,000 power for the battle, and then you may trash the top card of your deck. So we're getting some mill on our opponent's turn as well. And then trigger, draw 1 and trash the top card of your deck. So really powerful. Again, with the crocodile, these three cards that are 1 cost event get reduced down to 0. Mainly these 2, since we're not going to be using the Impel Down, but being able to play these 2 cards for 0 is going to be really powerful. Gum Giant Gavel. This is a 1 cost counter. You may trash 1 card from your hand. Up to one of your leaders gains 4,000 power during this battle, and then you may trash the top 2 cards of your deck. Be very mindful with this card. It does not work on character cards. It specifically says leader, but being a 1 cost plus 4k is still really powerful, and we get to trash the top 2 cards. And then trigger, return up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. Overheat, this is a 2 cost counter. Your leader or one of your characters gains plus 4,000 power during this battle, then return 1 active character with a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. So we can mitigate some of our opponent's field with this card if they've got a lot of low cost characters to get out of an attack and bounce another character back to their hand, or we can bounce one of our own characters 3 or less. And then trigger, return a 4 or less to the owner's hand, pretty standard. Then we've got Death Wink. This is a 3 cost counter. Your leader or one of your characters gains plus 6,000 during this battle, and then draw cards until you have 2 cards in your hand. So it can be really useful later on, but being that plus 6,000, especially in a defensive deck, is going to be really good. And then a trigger, return a character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand. So a very powerful effect again, just to be able to mitigate some of our opponent's higher cost characters as well. And then we've got Sanji's Pilaf. This is a 3 cost main. We just simply draw 2 cards, which is really powerful, and then a trigger to activate the main. So we definitely want to be utilizing this card as much as we can, as long as we're keeping Don up to be defensive. And if we can activate this card and Deathwink for 2 with a crocodile out, then it's a lot of value right there. Just being able to pay 2 to draw 2 cards, or pay 2 to get a plus 6,000 is going to be really powerful. But it's definitely a unique deck. Obviously, you're not trying to remove all of your opponent's life with this deck. You're simply just trying to mill yourself out. And that can be difficult for an opponent to deal with as well, if you do kind of find all the defensive tools for this deck to protect your characters and continue to deal that damage. And you'll find that you'll very quickly get your deck down to that 10 to 15 card range. It's just about finding a way to get those last 10 cards, and if you start dealing damage with any of these cards, it'll definitely help you to get there, and you might be able to mill yourself out without dealing any damage to your opponent if you just see the perfect hand and your opponent doesn't really have much to play. You know, you just have so much defense in this deck that you can just find a way to mill yourself out. But as always, if you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the deck, if there's any additions that you might add, or whether you just want to see this leader get banned and not find its place within our card game. Let us know, and hopefully we'll see you at the next deck idea.